In the last lecture, we did focus on various issues and challenges with regards to industrial relations in India, wherein we focus on elements like narrow focus, inflexibility of the employer's part, division, and various legal issues and disputes. In the lecture today, let us focus on a concept which was introduced in the year 1991, the economic liberalization that we had. It is a topic that is close to me because it was one of the aspects that was included in my PhD, the economic reforms. And we see the LPG mode. What is LPG? Certainly not liquefied petroleum gas. LPG here stands for liberalization, privatization, and globalization. With regards to liberalization, first focusing on the economic reforms or India's developmental plans. Post 1991, there's various measures that were adopted with regards to economic liberalization, privatization, and globalization. All these resulted in a drastic change in our mindset with regards to labor, management, government, and so on. Organized labor became defensive as both the central government and the state government had a change in mindset. They become investor friendly. The labor laws themselves have not changed. It is basically the attitude of the bureaucracy which have changed. The judiciary. The government resorted to phase withdrawal of subsidies, slow privatization, adopting the disinvestment route. Due to cutthroat competition that we had, globalized competition, employers tried to tighten, reduce the cost with regards to labor. The process of LPG, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization, ensures that the government role in social and labor matters has changed and not reduced. Accordingly, we had various objectives with regards to Indian developmental plan, and it included initiating rapid economic growth to raise the standard of living in order to ensure that we are providing with widespread employment. I mean, reducing the nature of employment that we have as far as possible, reduce unemployment levels, increase employment level with people, ensure that you're coming up with measures by which you're paving way for economic growth. You have increase in standard of living, reducing poverty. Another aspect is becoming self-reliant and set up industrial bases with emphasis on heavy and basic industries. You intend to become self-reliant, and one of the measures of becoming self-reliant is wherein you are setting up industries. And with regards to setting up industries in rural areas as well. It is not that you are setting up industries only in areas which are highly developed. Your aim should be to achieve a balanced regional development by establishing industries across country, not just selective parts. Reduce inequalities with regards to income and wealth. Adopt a socialist pattern of development that is based on equality, a pattern wherein you see to it that all the people get an opportunity to ensure that they grow properly, opportunities for job, prevention of exploitation of people. With all the objectives that we discussed right now, the government of India introduced the economic reforms and announced the new industrial policy in the year 1991. With the new industrial policy, The government reduced the number of industries under compulsory licensing to 6. What happened was earlier for any number of industries, any industries that you wish to start, there was compulsory licensing system, and that with regards to the bureaucratic hurdles used to take a longer duration of time. The time limit that you had to go through to obtain those licenses was a tiresome process. It used to result in delay, and as a result, with the introduction of new industrial policy, earlier the number of industries that required compulsory licensing was reduced to 18, which was further brought down to 6. Next point that we had to discuss was about disinvestment, which was carried out with regards to many public sector industrial enterprises. There are certain public sector organizations which was not doing well, reporting loss year after year. In spite of all the remedial measures that were taken, it continued to be in the red, reporting losses. So disinvestment as one of the strategies to look as an alternative in case of such private sector, public sector organizations. Our policy towards foreign capital was liberalized. We adopted a rather liberal approach with regards to foreign capital. The share in foreign equity participation was increased. And in many activities, 100% FDI, that is a foreign direct investment, was allowed, permitted. Automatic permission was given with regards to technology arrangements with foreign countries, with regards to foreign companies and domestic companies entering into an agreement with regards to technology to be used. You had the FIPB being set up. FIPB is Foreign Investment Promotion Board. This was done to channelize and promote foreign investment in India so as to ascertain that we get the much needed foreign investment, FDI. The three major initiatives undertaken by the government to introduce the much debated and discussed economic reforms. And you know the architect of this economic reforms who initiated the economic reforms 1991? Is anyone aware? The economic reforms 1991 was introduced by someone who was then the finance minister. Later, he went ahead to be the prime minister of a country twice for 2 terms. I also had the opportunity of interacting with him. Like I said, this was the topic related to my PhD as well. And since it was him who initiated it, I also had the opportunity to interact with him. Any idea who he is? He was the finance minister in 1991 when the economic reforms were initiated. So I'll give you another clue. He was the prime minister of our country during the period 2003 to 2014. I refer to Dr. Manmohan Singh. He initiated these reforms. He introduced those reforms. And during that time, it was much debated and discussed economic reforms that transformed Indian economy from the then closed economy to an open market economy. He came up with the LPG form, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization concept. And out of that, let's discuss what exactly is liberalization. The economic reforms that were introduced were aimed at liberalizing the Indian business and business, the unnecessary controls and regulations. We had a number of restrictions that were put in with regards to business being conducted in India. Various rules, unnecessary hurdles, bureaucratic hurdles. instead of ensuring that the business functions smoothly in India, you had this rule that needed to be followed, the other rule, then they'll come up with some other excuse. As a result, it wasn't easy to conduct business in India. Bureaucratic hurdles, unnecessary controls, restrictions being put into place, and hence this would delay the process of starting an industry or conducting business. It was not just in the year 1991. The other day, I mean, either yesterday or day before yesterday, there's a famous restaurant or outlet in Goa that just shut down after years. If you've been to Goa, there is a particular outlet by the name of Tito's. They just shut down. And the reason that they have mentioned over here is the same thing. They say they were harassed by the locals. Not just the locals, they say they were harassed by the local authorities, not locals, local authorities. When such things come into play that business find it difficult to operate, it does not present a good picture about the entire scenario.
What
We had Harshad requesting you to mute your mic, please. We had various economic reforms that introduced, wherein the main intention was to liberalize the Indian business and industry from all such unnecessary controls and restrictions. It also meant an end to the license permit quota Raj that existed. Liberalization of Indian industry meant abolishing the licensing requirement in most industry, except for 6 industries like we discussed. You had the freedom with regards to deciding the scale of business activities, the nature to which you wish to conduct the business. There is no restrictions whatsoever on expansion of business. Restrictions on expansion and contraction of business activities were removed. You had removal of restrictions on movement of goods and services. All those restrictions which prohibited movement of goods and services was removed. Your freedom in fixing the price of goods and services. Reduction in tax rates. There was also lifting and unnecessary controls that existed in the economy. The process of imports and exports was simplified. All those complex things were removed. It also made it easier to attract foreign capital and technology to India. That was the first element in the LPG model, that is liberalization. Then we had privatization concept. The government redefined the role of public sector in 1991. The new set of economic reforms aimed at giving greater role to the private sector in the nation building process and a reduced role to the public sector. There were certain public sector enterprises that wasn't doing well. This was not doing properly. There were certain measures undertaken to see to it that they are provided an opportunity. But when all those initiatives that were undertaken did not materialize, it meant that you give a greater role to the private sector and reduce the role of the public sector. And disinvestment was one of the strategies that was required to be used, suggested. And hence, to achieve this, the government redefined the role of public sector in the new industrial policy of 1991. The intention for doing that, as per the government, was to improve the financial discipline and also to facilitate modernization. It was also observed that private capital and managerial capabilities could be effectively utilized to improve the performance of the PSUs. The government also had made attempts to improve the efficiencies of PSUs by giving them greater opportunities to take managerial decisions. But apart from the loss that public sector units had, one of the reasons to go in for privatization or vouch for privatization was the argument that it would lead to better efficiency, better management, fixing of responsibility, something which was said to be lacking, something which was alleged to be lacking with regards to public sector units, that is fixation of responsibility. Then we had globalization. Just to add to privatization, we are thinking in lines of privatizing the railways right now with regards to globalization. Globalization with regards to the Indian economy is an outcome of policies of liberalization and privatization that the government has already initiated. It's gone liberal with regards to strategies. We've adopted to privatization, and that has enabled us to go global. Is generally understood to mean integration of the economy of the country with that of the world economy. What are we doing here? We are integrating, we are mixing, we are bringing together the economy of our country to that of the other countries, that is world economy. We are going global. This is something which is, although complex to understand, it means taking our country to the international arena. It is an outcome of the set of policies that we had that are aimed at transforming the world towards greater interdependence and integration. We could rightly assume that there is no country in the world who could say we are self-reliant, however developed they might be. You could have superpowers like the US or the UK, but still they're dependent on one or the other countries for the activities, for the trade. So globalization is an outcome of various policies that we have, those policies which are aimed at bringing the world together towards greater interdependence. And we have a arena, we have a platform wherein mutual interdependence, mutual integration exists. That is possible due to globalization. It also involves creation of networks, various activities which lead to economic, social, and geographical development, because it goes beyond those limits. We are not limited by the economic boundaries. Globalization has reduced the social boundaries that exist, and certainly not geographical boundaries. We do not have the limitation of any geographical boundaries. Just to give you an example, if right now I wish to buy any particular product, something that is available in the US, all I need to do is log in at either eBay or Amazon.com. .in is for India. I'll definitely log in for Amazon.com, search whether it is available there, and I could buy. It's not just Amazon or eBay, you have a number of websites from which you can select. So the difficulties that I had with regards to economic boundaries or social limitations or geographical boundaries, that has gone altogether. Globalization involves an increased level of interaction, interdependence among various nations of the global economy. Within the global economy, you have different countries, all of them dependent on one or the other for various reasons. Globalization has increased the level of interaction that used to happen. Physical geographical map, political boundaries no longer remain barriers for a business enterprise. If a business enterprise is getting a customer, it is now without boundaries that exists with regards to geographical gap. Political boundaries is not a barrier anymore. So the flexibility of serving a customer is more. And then we have the impact of the LPG model. Impact of LPG model, wherein we'll focus on the impact of LPG model on various aspects. The impact could be on employment with regards to trade unions, human resource development with regards to wages and benefits, collective bargaining aspects. It could have impact on the participative management, impact diversified cultures. It could have an impact on the industries and social security systems. We'll be discussing them one by one. The first in this particular is impact on the employment part. But first, let us try to understand that the traditional industrial relations that had existed underwent a lot of changes. From the traditional way, it has evolved over the course of time. And there were certain reasons that it gave way. We'll be focusing on that as well, the changing dimensions of industrial relation. But first, it has impact on employment, the impact of liberalization on employment. The new trade policy aims at reducing the industrial production protection and seeks a balance of payment management through manipulation of exchange rate, results in increased mechanization. The industrial trade policy, which aims at reducing international industrial protection and seeks balance of payment management, mainly through manipulation of exchange rates, results in increased mechanization. What we see here is the small scale sector is largely a victim of liberalization as compared to large industrial units. This is because if you compare various strategies, we see that small scale units are normally not able to adjust to it as compared to the large scale unit. The tight credit squeeze added to the fuel, that is, when we say the tight credit squeeze, it resulted in further sickness of small industries. Something which we earlier used to call as small scale industries or small and medium enterprises. SME is what we used to call them earlier. Now that is changed. We have something called as MSME now. When we used to study in school, we used to say small scale industries, right? Then we said it is SME, small and medium enterprise. Now we say it is MSME, that is micro, small and medium enterprises. So with regards to liberalization, what happened is the small scale industries, the small industries which were there, they were not able to match up with regards to the large scale units, wherein large scale units had various benefits with regards to more credit being made available to them, better technology being used. The small units were deprived of that on the larger front. The situation badly affected the employment scenario within the country. The organized industry, we say, should be should have a high quality. It should be productivity oriented and should adopt the best technology available, latest technology that we see. These strategies would demand the most skilled people with high degree of dedication and commitment. You require people who are apt for the job, efficient for the job. People who would do their job sincerely and with dedication, we require such people. But with regards to comparison being made with small scale industries and large scale industries, what happened was small scale industries, we find there are people who are semi skilled. I'm not saying all, but a major chunk of small scale industries used to come from those workers who are semi skilled or unskilled workers. So the major part of the small scale industries would require training being given to the unskilled workers first, and then you had semi skilled workers. With regards to large scale units, you might have people who are skilled, trained enough to use the latest technology. You would have all the benefits of the development that has taken place, or better facilities being made available. There are people with who are skilled enough, with high degree of dedication, commitment, efficiency, all those factors that are required for better productivity within an organization. And then we had people losing their jobs due to these changes that were introduced with regards to small scale sector, which definitely had a impact with regards to the economy of the country, progress of the country. And then the next point that we have is impact of trade unions. Like we discussed with regards to trade unions, it should be such that it is there for the benefit of the employees. Trade unions are not such, which should be there for protecting their own interests. They are there to establish themselves as a superior political party. The very basis of the trade union is to ensure that they are protecting the interests of the employees, seeing to it that we are with the employees, seeing to it that you supervise whether the factory or the organization is following all the rules and regulations, strategies that are made by the government of India. The employees are not exploited or taken advantage of and are paid reasonably well. That are the objectives, the rationale behind formation of trade unions. So, with regards to liberalization, it does have an impact on trade unions. We'll be discussing that in the lecture to come. We focused on various impacts that we had, impact, economic reforms that we had since 1991. Various aspects of liberalization was discussed, the need for privatization, and the role that economic reforms 1991 gave to privatization. We went global, that is focused on globalization, the need and the impact and the advantages of globalization. And now we had the impact of liberalization or LPG model on various aspects. We have discussed the first one, that is impact on employment is discussed. All other factors are yet to be discussed, that is impact on trade unions, impact of human resource development, impact on wages and benefits, impact on collective bargaining is there, participative management. Then we have quality circles, diversified cultures, industries, and impact on social security system. I think I'll require one or two more lectures to finish off this particular chapter. And once this chapter is done, I'll be sharing the PPTs with you. I'll also be sharing very soon the Google Classroom link, wherein all the lectures that I've taken until now are posted. You could, for revision purpose, you could go through the lectures once. And as I've said with regards to FHRM, same with regards to industrial relations as well. Once we finish, I'll announce that when we'll be going in for that test. Test for knowledge sake, just to understand that we are familiar with the topic, we have understood the topic, and not for any assessment part. With regards to assignment, I'll give you topics once the topic is done. We'll stop here for this particular lecture and we'll continue in the next lecture. Just a second. Okay.